let's talk about the 4 style pillars and how they would apply to buying new pieces or understanding your style a little bit better, or seeing if you should get rid of a piece, or trying to find that like perfect special event dress. Okay, so if you're confused about what the style pillars are, you can check out episode 8 of the Style POV podcast, but let's go over it. So they are lines, shapes, colors, and details or finishes. And then you kind of have in the center, like, what's the aesthetic of your chair? Those are the 4 legs. What's the aesthetic? I use my style statement to guide it, which is free beauty. So I'm scrolling, let's say I want a new summer dress. I have some events coming up. Last year, this was my go-to summer dress, but obviously that's not in my color palette. So if I'm buying a new dress for the season, I want it to fit that new style input of Bright Spring being my color analysis. So I'm scrolling a website I like, House of CB. I come across this dress. Now, let's go through our pillars and see which ones match and which ones don't. So for my style lines, we are thinking about style lines like a fashion designer would draw the piece. We're not thinking about what shapes they're creating or how they're connecting. We're just thinking about like what pencil, pen, marker, what type of movements would they make? Are they doing this? Are they doing this? So, we can see here, we have some, versions up at the top of different pens, markers, and I think we're getting into a light pencil. We have some diagonal lines, we have some horizontal lines, and we have a lot of short clustered ruffles that are creating short curved lines. And they're all pretty lightweight because you can see that they fall very closely together. So the pencil is going. So immediately I'm like, oh, all right, this is not so much of a match for my lines. I tend to like medium weight in my lines, so like a little bit heavier fabrics that would essentially translate into. Because when you think about lines, fashion designers are drawing the piece, and then they're going to someone who's going to sew it and choose the fabric. And sometimes they give the fabric swatch, but they're saying, look, this is supposed to represent this fabric. So the heavier the weight of the fabric, so if you're going to draw leather, you would draw a strong, sharp line because leather holds itself up. If you're going to draw chiffon, you'd go with a very light pencil. So that's what we're thinking about with lines. So here we're not seeing medium weight lines. We're not seeing sharper lines. We're not really seeing the relaxed lines that I like. I do like some diagonals. I don't know if the diagonal line across here is really where I prefer my diagonals. I like diagonals here. I'm also a little concerned about the horizontal emphasis here. I think that might be too soft and too horizontal of a line. So lines, not winning in this category. Let's talk about shapes. Now, shapes are the overall, it doesn't have to be perfect, and if it makes sense to you, don't worry too much about the terminology. But here, we're overall seeing a rectangle shape. It's long, it's horizontal here. I do like rectangle shapes. I also like inverted triangle, sometimes bell shape, and regular triangles. So I would say that for shapes, this is okay. I wouldn't mind a silhouette, this one. So okay, we got one pillar, good. Let's go to color pillar. All right, so Bright Spring, this would fall into Bright Spring, so automatic, great win. How I like to use color. I do prefer more monochrome. I don't like a lot of busyness with my color. I like to have a visible foreground and background color. Like if we looked at my video here, that was my problem with this robe, is that there was no visible foreground and background. It all was too busy. So here, I don't mind the color palette, obviously. I don't mind the use of color. I like that it's monochrome. One big block of color to draw your line. And I think that harmonizes well with the shape aspect. So let's move on to details. Where is this losing me with the details? I think the details are too small and soft for me. I think that they create a lot of movement, but not in a relaxed way, and I think that overall there's too many directions of the details and flounces that it would create an awkwardness on my body shape. And I think that overall, especially this flounce right here, would be a bad detail for me. I think that it's too soft, too fluid. It doesn't hold its structure. I like garments with a little bit of structure, even if that structure is relaxed. I would not call these details relaxed. I would call them light or airy, and that's not really my vibe. So details were no, lines were a no. Now let's say, okay, we're 50-50. How do we decide the final outcome? Well, we would go to the aesthetic of our chair, or your style statement, which is what I use. Mine is free beauty. Does this exude free beauty? I try to think about how could I style this in real life, in my dream fantasy style? Could I see myself in that, you know, European country home, you know, going out to dinner with friends? I think this is a bit too fussy for me. I think it leans more glamour. I think maybe someone could bring it down a little bit towards the naturalness that I like, but Free Beauty, I think it misses the mark. So ultimately I would say this isn't the right fit. Even though it has some of my pillars, there's too much missing for this to be the right choice. Okay, so let's look at this next dress. This was my last go-to summer dress, and this is the other dress that I was considering, also from House of CB. So if we look at the lines, we're seeing medium weight lines here. It is a fabric that holds its shape. It feels heavy. It doesn't have that light, airy feeling that the other House of CB dress. We have mostly straight lines, even within the corsety shape, even within this gathering along the hips. Ultimately, those are creating lots of straight, medium weight lines. It is not too buoyant. I know springs do well with buoyancy, but you know, it's a personalization. And I find I like volume in places, but I don't like flouncy. Too much flounce and I feel childish. Overall shape, I would say that it's a triangle. And that usually works for me. It has some waist definition, but I don't mind that. And that doesn't impact the overall shape. Again, you can create your own shapes as long as it makes sense to you and as long as you're seeing the same things. Don't worry about, is this what Gabby would say it is? Just kind of create your own baseline. And we're doing this against all of our daily outfit photos. So shape, this is the yes. Now let's go to color. It is a tomato red. It is a warm red. It is bright. Probably a little bright for me. It's a little bit, ooh, okay, but it is in my color palette. It is monochrome. There's not too much busyness. There's an obvious background color. It is how I like to use color, especially when I'm going bold. And I like reds. So if I can find a bright spring tomato poppy-ish red that works for me, that's going to be a win because I already know that's in my style toolbox and something I gravitate towards. In terms of details, the details here are nice. I like that little bow here. I don't find it too small or delicate. I like some of the corsetry going on. That's something that I gravitate towards from a fantasy style perspective, but I don't feel like it's overly confining, especially with the silhouette and the fabric. The lines are really important here. And the gathering along the hips, I'll have to see if I like that or not. I don't mind gathering as long as it doesn't go too soft. So again, here we have some structured gathering. This fabric weight is really helping me here. And if you remember, I really liked this dress last year. So this may be a natural progression to go from, let's say, a B to an A, because here we're including the color pillar. Now, let's vet this against the style statement, Free Beauty. Of course, this dress could go Italian summer diva, but what if we put it, for me, with a more natural, no makeup style vibe, loose curls, kind of natural, effortless waves, ballet flats, and like a rattan bag or a straw bag. I think that brings it to Free Beauty for me. Now, I did end up buying it, and this is what it looks like, and I think that it was the right choice. I wanted to buy one Bright Spring piece to really kind of like introduce me to the world of Bright Spring and see how I could start to integrate it more into my style, and I love a good summer dress. I plan to wear this a lot. I think it can be dressed up or down, and yeah, so that's how you use the 4 pillars to vet new purchases, and I hope this helps. And if you like this format, we could do more of your examples or anyone examples to see, like, would this be a good piece to buy for these parameters? So let me know in the comments. Until next time.